All right, welcome. Today we're jumping into a book that has become, seriously, the essential guide for anyone starting a new job. The First 90 Days by Michael Watkins. And look, it doesn't matter if you're a new manager or just switching teams, this is your playbook for success.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a pretty big question. Why is it that so many smart, capable people seem to stumble when they take on a new challenge? The stakes are incredibly high, and the statistics on transition failure, they can be pretty sobering. It's a common problem for sure, but it's one with a clear solution.
And that solution, well, it all starts with this core idea. The first 90 days are not just some grace period. Nope, they are the most critical window you have. What you do in these first 3 months creates a ripple effect that's going to determine whether you sink or swim for years to come.
So, let's get right to the heart of it. Let's really understand the most common pitfall that trips up leaders in a new role.
It's something Watkins calls the transition trap. And here's what it is. It's the assumption that what made you a rock star in your last job is automatically going to work in your new one. But here's the reality. Every organization has its own unique culture, its own political landscape, its own unwritten rules for how things actually get done. Falling into this trap is, hands down, the fastest way to derail your transition.
The good news, though, is that you can absolutely avoid this trap. The key is to shift from being reactive to being proactive. And you do that by building a structured, deliberate plan for how you enter the role.
And let's be really clear about something. This is not about working 80-hour weeks or trying to do everything all at once. Success here is all about focusing your energy on the right things at the right time. It's about working smarter, using a framework that's been proven to work.
And that framework, it all starts with a really powerful diagnostic tool. I mean, you can't just create a strategy until you understand the reality of what you're facing, right? Any kind of one-size-fits-all approach is pretty much doomed from the start.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. This is the STARS model. It breaks down pretty much every business situation into one of 5 categories. Are you in a startup, building something from nothing? Or a turnaround, where you're basically saving a sinking ship? Are you dealing with accelerated growth, or trying to lead a realignment to get a drifting team back on track? Or maybe your job is just sustaining the success that's already there. Your very first step is to figure out which of these you're in. Because let me tell you, the playbook for a turnaround is completely different from the one for sustaining success.
So the crucial point is this. The STARS framework forces you to diagnose before you act. It makes sure your plan is tailored to the reality of your situation, and that right there dramatically increases your odds of success.
Okay, so you've diagnosed your situation using STARS. What's next? Let's see how this diagnosis flows right into a clear 3-part action plan.
These 3 steps are your practical guide. First up, learn before acting. You have to become an anthropologist of your new organization. Who are the key stakeholders? How does work actually get done? Who holds the informal power? Next, secure early wins. You've got to find opportunities to deliver value quickly. This isn't about solving the biggest problem on day one. It's about building momentum and credibility. And finally, build alliances. You can't succeed alone. It's that simple. You have to identify the key influencers and start building a network of supporters.
And this quote just nails why those early wins are so critical. It's not just about ticking a box. Each small, visible victory earns you credibility. It builds trust. Think of it as putting political capital in the bank. Capital you're going to need to spend later when you want to make bigger, more difficult changes down the road.
It's also really important to remember that this isn't just some operational checklist. Watkins puts a huge emphasis on the personal side of transitions. You've got to manage your own energy, keep yourself psychologically resilient, and be super intentional about the personal brand you're building from day one.
So, let's pull all this together. Why should this be considered an indispensable tool for, well, pretty much any modern professional?
The framework is incredibly strong. Its biggest strengths are that it's highly practical, with actual checklists and tools you can use immediately. It's universally applicable, whether you're a CEO or a new team lead, and it has real psychological depth. Now, the source does note it can be a little heavy for very junior roles, and of course, you always have to adapt these frameworks to your specific company culture. But here's why this matters more today than ever before. In our corporate world, nobody stays in one role forever. We are constantly navigating promotions, team reorganizations, mergers, you name it. Transitions aren't a rare event anymore. They are the new normal. And mastering them, that's a core career skill.
And that brings us to the #1 thing to remember about this whole approach. It is a repeatable methodology. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a single, structured process you can use every single time you step into a new role to minimize your risk and accelerate your impact.
The final verdict on this is really clear. This is an essential corporate survival and success manual. For anyone facing a new role, it is the definitive guide to read before you even start.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Your next transition, whether it's next week or next year, it's coming. The only question is, are you going to be ready to lead through it effectively?